As an FYI, I think Rebecca had a family emergency, will not be joining us tonight. So I am sorry I'm late, but I think we have achieved a quorum.
Yes, we have. Okay.
It is now 7:01. And this is the October 19th meeting of the Board of Health. Ellen, I can't remember how long I've been the chair or how long it will take before I correctly open the meeting without asking you what I need to do, but this is a roll call vote, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Just to say whether you're present.
Perfect. Daryl, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Daryl Beardsley present.
Matt Beavers present.
Matt Vitale present. And I don't see Mark yet, or I didn't a second ago. Oh, there's Mark.
He is on.
I am here.
Perfect. So I think we've got the 7:30 variance hearing, which we can't do early, and we've got the 7:10 as an appointment. Do you think we can do the 76 Whitney Street in 10 minutes before the Heritage of Sherborn?
Oh, can I ask, can we update the agenda?
Oh,
People?
yes.
Okay, we have things that just happened. So one would be a beaver location visit is scheduled for tomorrow, and then Mark can update us on Farm Pond
Perfect.
if we so choose.
So do I have a motion to addend the agenda with the discussion of the beaver visit, or the beaver site visit, and the farm pond discussion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Hearing no further discussion.
Daryl, aye.
Matt Beavers, aye.
Aye. Why don't we start, because I see Sean on here, why don't we start with the beaver then?
Okay, so the Central Mass Mosquito Control Project person or persons are coming out tomorrow to look at a few of the sites that we have where there's a historically and currently beaver activity, to see what they might be able to do to help us out with that. And so Matt Beavers will be attending. Mark Gorham, if he can fit it into the many other things that are scheduled. Sean Colleen will be there. Courtney Eck from Conservation Commission will be there. So
I'm just going to stay stuck at the joy it brings me to know that Dr. Beavers will be at the Beaver Dam inspection.
I was born for this, Matt.
This is the whole reason you've been on the board. It's your time now.
Exactly.
That's perfect. I love it.
Yes.
I love every part of it. And thank you
yes,
guys
it was
for taking
with
the
great
time.
joy that I got to send out an invite to him. So
That sounds fabulous. And so let's, Ellen, can we plan to have the follow-up for that included as an agenda item on the November 2nd meeting?
Yes, absolutely.
And then Daryl, do you want to tackle the farm pond topic?
I'll let Mark do that since he's been
Perfect.
working on it.
Mark, if you're doing it, you're muted.
No, I just realized sometimes I can use the tab button, other times I can't to talk. But anyways, for Farm Pond, we did receive a notice from the state Department of Public Health, the division that handles cyanobacteria for harmful algae blooms. And they offered to come out when we reviewed it with them last month. And since then, they have offered to come out tomorrow to take a test at the Farm Pond beach area to status of the harmful algae blooms. And that's planned for sometime tomorrow. They're planning to call us to let us know. And once we receive the call, I will be in town doing soil testing. I'll pop over with other people that have been invited to observe the testing, and then we'll wait for the results. And once we get those, I'll update the board.
Sounds fabulous, at least in terms of gaining more insight into what's happening in our ecosystem. Any other discussion on that topic? Mark, my guess is that we probably can't do 76 Whitney in 4 minutes. Does that sound right to you?
I think it would be difficult at this point to do it in 4 minutes, you know, but
Okay.
the homeowner is here to listen in.
So let's see what kind of time we have after the 7:10 to see if we can squeeze that in before the 7:30. Otherwise, we'll plan to follow it up after the variance hearing. Ellen, do you want to walk us through the Natick Walpole V&A? That seems like business we could do in less than 4 minutes.
Oh, yeah. We received the invoice for the September billing for the work they have done following up on COVID cases. Like I said last month, they are following up on people over 65 and young children and infants. And so this month for September, the bill was $165 for 3 hours worth of work. So Daryl has approved it and I have processed it for payment. So we're just looking for the board to ratify that approval.
So do I have a motion to ratify the vice chair approval of the September Natick Walpole V&A invoice?
So moved.
Second,
Hearing no further discussion.
Daryl, I.
Matt Beavers, aye.
Matt Vitale, aye. For the minutes, I had some minor edits that I provided. Did anybody else have more substantive edits to the October 5th minutes?
I just had minor.
Yeah, I think I fixed the typo.
I think I heard I fixed the same typo, so
I think we probably all fixed the same typo.
I think she just put it in there so we'd have something to reply to. It's like a task.
To prove we actually read them.
Yeah. Do I have a motion to approve the October 5th, 2022 minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second,
Hearing no further discussion.
Daryl, I.
Matt Beavers, aye.
Matt Vitale, aye. Then Ellen, in 2 minutes, what can you tell us about your vacation?
I'm supposed to go away October 27th, return November 5th. Just found out today that my son and daughter-in-law are COVID positive.
Oh,
I know. So their son Tegan is not. I don't know. I hope to heck he doesn't get it because we're supposed to babysit for him. So we'll see. I hope I'm still going.
no. All right, well, I'm knocking on wood. That can
Thank
be reflected on the minutes. I hope all goes well. And
I
then,
really wish that had been a less substantive update, Helen. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
yeah. a
Yeah, me
disappointment.
too. Too much.
Well, with that, I see we're approaching 7:10. I saw Tom on here, and I'm not sure if Josh is going to join us, but
I'm here.
perfect.
Yeah,
Sounds
Josh is
good.
on.
And so I'm happy to sort of introduce this, and then I might kind of pass off to Tom, and then welcome input to Josh. Does that work for folks?
Yep.
So I think the reason we had this on the agenda for tonight is, I think that we've continued to have a set of issues at the Heritage, which are addressed, but it sort of feels like tough to make and sustain progress. And so, one of the parts that's hard for me is in my capacity of Sherborn Board of Health is a pretty small number of restaurants or food establishments that we see permits to. And so just having a little bit of context is, I think, Tom, one piece I'd love from kind of your wider experience about how this pattern compares to what you've experienced in other municipalities. And then if you sort of have any comments on the themes that have come out, because I think ultimately the concern, at least that I have, is that it has felt hard to achieve and maintain compliance with the requirements. And, I think we really need to figure out how do we get to a place where the Heritage is able to meet those requirements and kind of sustain that performance. So maybe Tom, if you can start us off with any big themes you've seen and sort of how this pattern compares to your experience in kind of other environments, if you're comfortable sharing that.
Sure, Matt. I certainly would like to reaffirm your sentiments, and I think the common sense approach is to control, at least if we talk about the rodent population, is to prevent them from coming in the first place, which I know Josh has been trying to work diligently toward as of late. But being an older structure, there's entry points, there's old doorways, there's opportunities for entry. There's contributing factors within the food establishment that entice the population, and then consequently we'll have trace of droppings in areas where we probably shouldn't see them, and it would be beneficial to maybe have more diligent monitoring of that so we can clean and sanitize those affected areas frequently. So we see very minimal evidence of, the pests, although we want to see a little bit of evidence to determine where they're coming from so we can remediate and seal those gaps and holes and entry points, and treat those areas. As far as my experience across the board with this, and I know Mark can speak to it, to work collaboratively with your IPM pest control provider, if that cross communication isn't happening, if those open maintenance issues aren't addressed, if there isn't ongoing discussions between those two entities, then your whole pest control program is going to be ineffective. You can have as many pest control visits as you want, but if we're not taking the direction and from what the pest provider is advising, and there's a fall apart with the collaboration, then the issues will persist. I think as of late, Josh has been trying to, he met with his pest provider recently. He sent over an amended report. I'm still trying to ascertain how to read the reports. The board might agree that you see these open issues, but just maybe Josh could speak to later about, how they notate which ones are corrected and which ones are not. I did see on my follow-up the other day that there were some issues, for instance, like the hole behind the toilet that was corrected long ago. That was an outstanding issue on the report. Josh recently sent photographic evidence of some other corrections, one being the front door there's been a new front double door installed, and then there's been rodent-proof sweeps at the gap in between. I did notice on this most recent pest report that was sent over by Heritage that we need to be more diligent about our insect control devices and do some replacements and things like that I read that were notated on that. So I think it really just all encompassing goes back to the collaboration between the pest provider and the operator, and trying to address those maintenance issues, expeditiously.
I think that's helpful. And Josh, I'll sort of pass the mic to you. I just want to ask one clarifying question first of Tom. Tom, as you're sort of describing this, if we think about big themes, I think one thing we've seen is sort of intermittent temperature or food surface issues or food environment issues that tend to be a little bit more variable. And I'm not hearing that kind of come out of your core theme. And it seems like kind of site control as it relates to pests, or that element feels like the most important issue right now. And there have been steps we saw last year related to the dumpster. And I don't mean to imply that Josh hasn't done it, but we sort of haven't gotten to the performance milestone yet that makes us feel like we're on track. Am I sort of summarizing that right, Tom?
Certainly, you certainly are, Matt. And yes, you're absolutely correct. As far as, everything we do is based on risk. And as far as the greatest risk as far as this inspection goes, the temperature infractions are certainly a concern. These refrigerator units, when they conduct these product assessments on them, for the most part, they do it in optimal conditions that, with an ambient room temperature of, let's say, 70 degrees, and then the food in the pan at the top is only filled about halfway, and it generally maintains it below 41. But in a kitchen environment, when you have multiple pieces of equipment throwing off heat, you have the flip tops open in the midst of a dinner rush, you're going to have some deviations in temperature, but you need to be vigilant about monitoring those temperatures and making sure they're within the parameters that the code requires. When the issues were brought to light during inspection, the workers on site took immediate corrective action to get the food where it needs to be. And if not, we couldn't determine when the food was made, or if it was made the day prior, that food was discarded. So I think would be beneficial to have a roundtable with the staff there and kind of reiterate to them the importance of those risk factors being, the temperature control issues that we've had. I think this is a repeat issue there. So we need to make sure that is addressed long term, and it's, to avoid this chronic issue.
Thanks so much, Tom. And then Josh, I'm gonna go to Daryl just as she's a member of the board first, and then I'll go to you. So Daryl, go ahead.
Okay, so I've heard that the Sherborn Inn used to empty its dumpsters every day. I don't know if that's still the schedule. If it is, then that's not an issue, but if it isn't, Josh and Tom, would that be a factor perhaps in this?
It is done Tuesdays and Fridays. Tom can ask that better. I mean, we've moved our trash dumper in the warmer months, in the non, December, January, February, March months. We move it to across our parking lot. So, so it's not causing what I think any direct issues with what's going on at the restaurant. Tom might have a better idea. I don't know how far things travel, so Tom may be able to answer that better than I do. But we moved it not because the Board of Health asked us, because we have a fly issue there, being in the country, being that the doors opened. So we moved it years ago away from the building, and we transport all the trash out to further away. The farthest point we can really do it physically from the entrance, any entrance to the building. But I can for sure look into a daily pickup if Tom thinks that that would help.
Well, I can only speak to what the code requires, and it talks about in the code what's called frequency of removal. And that is required that the garbage is removed from the premises at a frequency that prevents enticement of rodents. So if the dumpster is covered and it's the trash is contained and there's pest-proof lids on the dumpster, that's all I would be concerned about. If I go there and the dumpster is overflowing and there's trash falling out of it, then certainly that. So it would be up to the business owner to make an assessment. If there's more pickups are necessary, then they would in turn, yes, have to increase the frequency of those pickups. I think it would be in the better interest to make sure that, to monitor the trash, because it certainly is an enticing factor for rodents. I've heard of other folks switching over to the metal lids, at least temporarily, on the dumpsters, even though those are cumbersome and heavy to open for staff until the population is brought under control. I understand the ambiance of Heritage. It's kind of like a farmy feel. It's open doors going out onto the lawn, but my experience with other establishments that might have open patios and things like that, if they have an uptick in rodent population, I would certainly advise that all the doors and windows will be kept closed for a period of time until the, population is brought out of control. And I think that's precisely why last year I had them put some self-closing hinges on some of those doors that were leading out onto the lawn. So again, we want to prevent them from coming in the first place. So any and all conditions that might contribute to them, we want to eliminate.
Okay, thank you.
And then, so as far as like the pest report, so when they mark an issue and I correct it, they don't then take it off the list for whatever reason. They don't go back and redo it. They just keep adding on, I guess. And I had them go through recently. I knew they were fixed. Tom had seen some that were fixed. And then, so I went through them and I said, you got to take these off because we had corrected these. And he's like, okay. So we walked through the building together. And that's why you have the most updated list. And he showed me some new things that we're going to take care of, some new entrance points that he thinks they might be getting in that we're going to take care of as soon as we can. And then we've done some things to counteract the refrigeration. We've moved some more highly perishable things like potato salad from up top to underneath. The amount of food that's stored underneath, we've lessened. So the machines aren't working as hard. We just had them serviced, a regular checkup, which Tom was alluding to earlier. The front doors have been replaced for a little while and the door sweeps were just put in recently. And then we've done some of the rodent areas. We've put in some metal fencing and I put in some door sweeps there as well to keep them out. And then Tom and I had talked about the pizza oven is an area of concern. We've talked about, and I have someone coming out to help me figure out a way to do it, is to remove some of the debris under the pizza oven that we can't access. So we're gonna try to see if we can open up the area to access that area so we can keep underneath the pizza oven cleaner.
And Josh, is there any plans to have any aggressive trappings? I know sometimes business owners that I've worked with in the past have done some overnight mass trappings where they canvass the area with traps overnight and then, remove any catches in the morning just to try to knock down any upticks in the population. Has that been something that you've discussed or?
No, I've never heard that before. We did increase, we were doing once a month and then we were doing twice a month and now we're doing, for this month, we're doing once a week, but I will definitely mention it to them. I think that's a great idea. That's something I thought of sort of doing myself, sort of putting out some things because these guys work in the mornings, they work at 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. But I will definitely ask them. I would love to do that.
Yeah, I think that might be an option for you. I've heard of, I don't think you have drop ceilings in the establishment, but if you do, like when I've dealt with retail stores that encounter this issue, they'll do a mass trapping. They'll go up inside ceiling cavities and put traps in there and any and all areas where they think that they'll have some catches, and it's overnight is the only opportunity where you have nobody in there where you can just put traps out on floor surfaces that you normally wouldn't, and then have some of it in the morning and retrieve and discard properly any catches that you might have.
Okay. Yeah, I will definitely ask them if that's something that they do.
The other thing too, just going back to any incidents of any droppings, is maybe monitor those on a daily, have someone who's doing the opening, like go through, that there's that cupboard area in the kitchen that we talked about when I was there last, just clean and disinfect. We don't want to.
I meant to take a picture of it, but I did add more. That's the door sweeps I added to that specific unit. And then, I've been there every day this week and I haven't seen any activity since I installed those. And then we went over with the dishwashers to do the cleaning at the end of the night again, to do a more diligent under equipment cleaning at the end of the night and throughout the day. So, and I will follow up with the chefs there that is continually getting done and a reminder to them.
And then going back to the pizza oven you mentioned, I know that it's been cumbersome trying to get under there. There's some sort of a wood boxing around the legs of it. It's the older unit, although it still works pretty well. I don't know if it's an option, if there's any clearance that you could elevate it a little bit at the pedestals that support it to maybe ensure there's a 6-inch clearance underneath it so you can access it better.
Yeah, that's what I talked to Data. He was going to come out and see if he could brainstorm with me on how to do that. Because then I don't know what the code is on the top. I think it has to be a certain distance from the hood there, so I'm not sure. But I will definitely talk to him about it.
Yeah, certainly consult with the building inspector or the fire department too for, any HVAC commercial hood ventilation issues.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that, just to go back, I neglected to mention what initiated this inspection in the first place was a constituent complaint that we received through Gene regarding a function that occurred outside during a particular stormy day. But I guess some temporary heat was brought in and piped into the tent. The floor or the ground surface in there is covered with bark mulch. Apparently, per the constituent complaint, the heater was blowing up some mulch and debris, and it was settling on glassware, and they had concerns in the complaint that came in through Gene about lack of temperature control for food. I mean, I didn't see any evidence of that, but again, the party wasn't happening when I did conduct my inspection the day after I received the complaint. But as a recommendation, I thought that moving forward, if we're going to be doing these tents, that we have to have parameters in place to protect food, utensils, equipment, and linens from any physical contamination. I don't know if a temporary floor surface could be brought down or some sort of other surface put down that's not going to be posed as a physical debris hazard to any food contact surfaces or anything to do with food. I did refer temporary heat to the building inspector and the fire chief just to have them vetted, whether I wasn't privy to whether or not that was vetted through them or not. So I just usually flag them on any issues I encounter with that, as well as the temporary structure. I don't know if they have any permitting pathways for that. So I just to keep them in the loop.
So we realized the mulch situation. I think we did it last year. We didn't have an issue, but I think it's just deteriorated so much that the mulch, instead of being little wood chips, is now becoming dust. So we realized that. I mean, the tent's down. It was taken down today or yesterday, and so we're going to look into something else other than mulch for next year, because obviously it's not working. We realize that.
And then the other thing that we did speak about, just to brief the board, was there is some outdoor cooking going on with an outdoor smoker. There was some renderings that were overflowing that have since been disposed of properly underneath it. But just moving forward, if that's what we're going to do, I did request some SOPs drafted up at Josh's convenience to send over about parameters that they're going to follow. But the code, I view that as a temporary food establishment because it's outside. So we would need to put a temporary hand wash sink out there and some overhead protection and a pop-up canopy or something of that nature for any staging area for meats that might be smoked out there. And then make sure that staff is, changing gloves and not contaminating door handles when they're handling raw meat and that the food is protected when it's coming in and out of the establishment to be brought out to that smoker there. And I did ask for some product specifications on that, but I think it's a custom made unit. But I did ask maybe if we could get something from whomever made it, what the specifications on the unit is for our.
Yeah, like I said, it's custom made. So I haven't been able to get in touch with him, but I will follow up with him on that. And then we had talked about moving the smoker. Before I move it, I mean, I don't mind moving it. It's on wheels, but I just think the fire department, we moved it where it is now because of the fire department. So if we move it again, I just want to make sure that it's okay with them where you want us to move it to the pavement. So I just want to make sure that we move it to an area that the fire department's okay with.
Yes, wherever Zach feels that it's safe to be. I mean, that's fine, but I just would rather it on a solid surface. I mean, certainly follow his guidance, but also implement the food safety controls around it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a new system now, so where we put out sanitizer and we put some gloves in a waterproof box, and we put the portable sink and soap out there. So yeah, we've addressed that already, but then we haven't moved it because I do want to just talk to the chief about that.
Fair enough.
Perfect. So given that we've got a 7:30, any other questions or issues that folks want to raise before I close out this discussion with Josh?
Yes, just quickly, I guess I have concerns that some of the things we've seen repeat a few times. And so how can we help support the heritage and getting to a better place on that? And I know that in the past we had talked about whether there's some sort of consultant who could come in, who could do periodic inspections, which also ties into the amount of time that Tom has spent. And our general mode of operating is to help and to educate and what have you. But given that things happen more than once, the same issues, I'm concerned about that. And for example, since I review timesheets, on the last couple of timesheets from Tom, I'd say he spent a total of perhaps 8 hours at the Heritage, and that was just in the last month. So at some point, I think we need to really look at that, on how the town is really underwriting the cost for this.
I mean, like I said earlier, a lot of the issues were just cleared up but never put in into the paper from the pest company. And then some things weren't addressed, some things we didn't understand, and some things we didn't question, and some things have appeared since then. So, but yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think a lot of the issues with Tom being there, and I think Tom said this to me the other day, was complaints from guests, which we obviously never want, but and we try to minimize as much. So I'm not sure, these weren't regularly scheduled visits. Usually there's a scheduled visit and then a follow-up, and then the end of year visit and then a follow-up. So
Right, but what concerns me is what kind of compliance is being maintained in between Tom's visits. And that is a concern. And we are just supposed to be checking, but we're not supposed to be there all the time checking.
Right.
So that's the part I want to see happening. And the reports that we see are also Tom's reports, where there's a
Right.
column on the inspections that talks about repeat. And there are checkoffs in that column. So
right.
And just as a note, in addition to the complaint, you were due for another routine sanitary inspection. So yes, the inspection was triggered by a complaint, but I was planning on going in there within around that time anyways, because you were due for another inspection.
right, so we don't have enough time this meeting, but I think maybe we need to look at some additional fees to help cover some of the extra time that above and beyond what we budget for.
Sounds good. Again, I think that discussion would be not sort of limited to the heritage, but if we do have a pattern that is sort of what appears to be a more sustained pattern of more than typical usage, sort of what that looks like. And just to make sure that that is sort of appropriately funded and that there's a pathway to kind of get that to line. Josh, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And Tom, thank you for joining us as well. We really appreciate it. With that, I'll sort of transition to the 7:30.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you both.
Very much.
All right, and I think I saw Dan on here. So we've got the 7:30 hearing for the septic system replacement at 62 Green Lane. And speaking of green, Ellen, did we get all the cards back?
Yes, all the green cards are back. It's all set. So you can open the hearing.
Perfect. Do I need a roll call vote on that?
No,
Perfect. Then Dan, take it away.
All righty, Dan McIntyre representing the homeowners of 62 Green Lane. This property was developed back in the late 1970s as a 3-bedroom home. Over the last few years, it's fallen into disrepairs and was recently purchased earlier this year by someone who wants to renovate it and get it fixed up. Just to orientate you, Green Lane is over on the left-hand side of the drawing. The existing system is right in the front yard. There's a large wetland in the backyard, and the well is situated way in the back part of the property, not on this. It's about 300 feet away from the septic system. For some reason, they drilled it way back on this property. It's a very long property, about 3 acres. So we did some soil testing out there in what was called the reserve area on the original 1978 design plan. We found decent soils, groundwater pretty consistent at 48 inches based on models, and refusal pretty consistent at 8 feet below grade. As I mentioned, this was designed as a 3-bedroom house based on the design plan and a disposal works construction permit on file with the Board of Health. Although given the size of the house, I was a little surprised to see that because it is a very large house. But when you walk through it, it truly is 3 bedrooms on the second floor. There's a large sitting room up there that kind of serves as an entrance into the master bedroom. So it's kind of a hallway sitting room. The new owner would like to wall that off and make true 4 bedrooms on the second floor. So we designed it as a 4-bedroom septic system in the front yard, primarily in the reserve area of the original system. We did design it in accordance with Title V, but we are asking for a couple of waivers from the local Sherborn regulations for the +1 bedroom. Those waivers are depth of groundwater less than 5 feet, which we can't design around. We're also asking for a 4-foot offset to groundwater instead of 5 feet in conformance with Title V. We are mounting the front yard up a bit now. If we mount it up another foot, we're really going to be kind of up toward the clapboards of the house. And we're trying to minimize tree clearing along Green Lane, which is a scenic road. So we don't want to cut too many trees right along that stone wall. And the third variance is offset to wetlands. For the primary system that will be constructed, we can meet the 125-foot offset, but we do have a reserve area, and one of the reserve trenches would only be 121 feet off the wetlands. So those are the 3 variances that we're asking for the Sherborn regulations. The homeowner is aware that they will be restricted to 9 rooms total. We did submit some floor plans that they developed, which shows that they're going to be adding, as I mentioned, the 4th bedroom on the second floor. They will be eliminating a room on the first floor. They're going to kind of make it an open concept plan. There's a formal dining room and a formal living room down there now. They're going to combine those 2 and open it up to the kitchen. So it's going to be kind of an open floor plan, first floor. And then there's 1 room in the basement. So it's 9 rooms now. It'll be 9 rooms when we're done, but it'll be a 4-bedroom.
And just a note, we do have those floor plans if you wanted to look at them, Matt. They're a little further down.
Perfect. So I will get into the floor plan. So first, any questions while I've got the plan up, then we'll look at the floor plan, then we'll go to the variances.
So I just had one. I'm assuming that the land slopes down as you go towards the back, towards the well. So really this front yard is maybe the place that offers the greatest distance from the SAS to groundwater. Is that the correct assumption?
I think so. It around the wetland, it drops off pretty steeply. It's a sharp drop from the driveway in the back house down to the wetlands. It does start to go back up again where the well is, way in the back of the property, but there's also a lot of exposed ledge back there as well. So the front yard really is the ideal spot for a system.
Okay. And if the well is in the upland area, then that doesn't make it a good spot either.
Right.
Floor plans.
Yeah, I did have a question on the floor plan.
And so maybe can we start on count and then go to question, Joe? Does that work okay?
Yep. The
So
count
this-
is my question, so.
So for me, what I landed on, and I'm curious if others are the same, is I called it 4 on the first floor. I said I treated kitchen island, living, dining, family room, office. My position was that the full bath here opens onto the kitchen, and so as such doesn't turn the kitchen to a bedroom. Then on the second floor, we've got master bed. I counted 1, 2, 3, 4 rooms on the second floor, brought my total to 8, landed at 9th room in the basement. And so for me, I came up with 9 rooms, 4 bedrooms, full bath directly opening into a kitchen, hit the Sherborn exclusion for things that could be connected to a full bath and not counted as a bedroom.
That's where I landed. My only question, and I know Gerald had one too. My only question is the basement going to stay finished? Just because these plans just mentioned demoing everything in the finished room?
Well, it's a disaster down there now. When I walk through it, as I say, the house kind of fell into disrepair, and it was finished at one time, and it's kind of a disaster now. It needs to be refinished.
Got it. Okay, so they're gonna demo the disaster and then put up something that will be finished.
Yes.
Okay,
And Matt, with that count, you landed at 9?
I landed at 9 then, yeah.
Okay. Daryl,
All
fire
right.
away.
So going back to the first floor. So is that an eat-in kitchen? Do you know?
I really don't know.
Okay, hard to say. All right.
Yeah.
Here's my thing is when we've had open areas, and if there's no dining room, but people are going to treat it like that, we have at times counted those as 2 rooms. So the question is there a way around that? I don't see that as a problem because we could deed restrict the basement room, but just for consistency of what we've done elsewhere.
I mean, I guess like for me, if we sort of said, like if this plan said dining room instead of living dining room, like there's another family room, so it's not as though we're saying this is a house with no living room. You know,
Mhm.
for me,
Okay.
it sort of feels like the kitchen in that space, like where I'd feel different is if we like had kitchen island and then we had like 1,500 square feet of, you know, open concept thing that's one room, you know, that would feel disproportionate and it would feel more applicable. I think in this case, I feel okay with it, at least where I landed, looking at its proportion relative to other spaces and the fact that there's sort of another family room there.
Okay, so I guess for what's in our files, it'd be nice to have something that just maybe did just that, to find it as dining room, because I like the
Or
the
like a
family
great-
room does
Or a
certainly.
great room. Can we call it a great room? Or a really great room? A truly fabulous room?
Except there are some homes where their great room will be a kitchen, a dining room, and a living room. So that's
Yeah.
not, it's
That
not
doesn't
a
help us.
uniform descriptor for every house. So I'd rather just have the space more clearly labeled as whether
Perfect.
it's perceived as dining or living. I don't really care, but
That would make it. Yep, and so maybe that's guidance for, because this is sort of question of, hey, we want to make sure this is on track. But that might be something to flag for the homeowners for when they submit the building permit. Is that what you're thinking, Daryl?
yes, like kind of since this is proposed, whatever they determine is their final, yes, would help for consistency with other determinations we've made in the past.
Sounds good. And so, perfect. So it sounds like we think it's a 9-room. Having more clarity in the highlighted section would be appealing to kind of make clear that pattern of use when the building permit comes in. But with that, I'll sort of transition us to the variance letters unless there's other questions about the floor plan. Perfect. All right, I even got the right letter. Do I have a motion to approve a variance to section 8.01 groundwater offset to be 5 feet, 4 feet provided per Title 5 as previously discussed?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Daryl, I.
Matt Beavers, aye.
Oh, Matt Vitale, aye. I was waiting. I was like, I got time. I got like 2 people left. Do I have a motion to approve a variance to section 8.02 depth to seasonal high groundwater less than 5 feet?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Daryl, I.
Matt Beavers, aye.
Matt Vitale, aye. See, that time I got it. Do I have a motion for variance to section 10.2 distant to wetland to be 125 feet with only 121 feet provided for the future reserve system?
So moved.
Seconded. Who knows?
Any further
The only other comment I have is that this has been approved by Conservation Commission.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Daryl. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Daryl, I.
Matt Beavers, aye.
Matt Vitale, aye. And Mark, are the plans ready for approval?
Yes, they are conditional to a deed recording for the garbage grinder that's not being designed for.
Perfect. Do I have a motion to approve the plans with the garbage grinder deed recording condition?
Do you have to close the hearing first?
Yes, that sounds plausible. Do I have a motion to close the hearing?
You can just close it.
You can just
Oh,
close it.
perfect.
You
Well,
have that
close it.
power.
It's that authority. It's the lack of a gavel. Perfect. So with that, we'll close the hearing. And Mark, are the plans ready for approval? Yes, they are. Conditional to the garbage grinder recording. Do I have a motion to approve the plans with the garbage grinder condition?
So moved.
Seconded.
I think I really nailed the further discussion in advance of the motion. So hearing no further.
Daryl, I.
Matt Beavers, aye. Matt Vitale, aye. And with that, Dan, we're open all week.
Okay, can I just ask for a little more clarification on the floor plan so I can give the homeowner the correct information? What would you like to see on that great room or dining room?
I would say if it's gonna be a dining room, call it a dining room. If it's gonna be a living room, call it a living room. Calling it one or the other makes it easier to not have a deed recording for the basement room. Because we've
Okay.
had some rooms that had dual uses that were counted as two. And I suspect that's not the intention here. Yeah, I mean, like, again, like this looks like it's about a 250 square foot space, maybe 300 square feet. It's not like the 1,000 square foot great room. But I think having that reflected in the final building plan will avoid any, potential of, well, this looks different.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
And beware basements and bathrooms in the basement.
Oh, good point. Thanks.
Yes, no bathrooms in the basement.
Well, are they allowed to have a bathroom in the basement, but just not off the room or?
I think it would get tricky because again, it's the only
It would
room in
get
the
tricky.
basement with a walkout. And so I would recommend against it, or we will look forward to the hour we'll spend together carefully considering the issue.
I mean, it could be a half bath, right?
Half bath is totally fine.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm just waiting for the one who's like, the toilet's here and the shower is 47 feet away. Does it count as 2/4 or 1.5 or how to? On that note, I'll look forward to.
That
the
was
future
not an
then.
invitation for
That
that
was not-
discussion, Dan.
No, I'm just waiting. Somebody's gonna have a Cape Cod style outdoor shower and they'll be like, well, it's under a porch. But again, if it weren't for all this, where would the glamour be? Dan, thanks so much. Have a
All
fabulous
right, thank
night.
you.
With that, I think I saw the property owner for 76. So why don't we swoop over to that?
Okay, I can help present it to you.
That would be fabulous. Let me just get that up.
Yeah, well, you're bringing that up. The applicant came in for a sunroom, and within the sunroom, he wishes to have heat. And that's on the first floor right there. You'll see it on the upper right there. And so that's the proposal for the new sunroom with heat. With that said, the septic system was reviewed. It was put in 1977. Records show it was a 4-bedroom septic system design. Unfortunately, we don't have as-built or a certificate, but it is on a plan as a 4-bedroom septic system. And we do have that available. It's a 1977 plan. I think I mentioned that. So this house has presently 9 rooms, 3 bedrooms on the second floor. I'll let you get there. And then you'll see the outer area on the upper part of the plan is open to the first floor, to the living room. In the basement, there are 2 rooms, a storage space. Oh, it was, there you go, Matt. Thank you. There's a, oh, no, the other way.
There we go. Perfect. Okay.
Storage room space is finished, plus there's a media room. So that's 2 rooms there. So we're up to 5, 3 on the second, 2 on the basement. And then on the first floor, we have presently the existing living room, the dining room, the den, the kitchen. So we have 4 there, plus the sunroom would make it 5. So we'd be up to 10 rooms, 5 on the first, 3 on the second, 2 in the basement level. So I did inform the owner who's here that, we have looked at basement rooms at a sub-level. to be deed recorded so that the deed to note this is this is a 4-bedroom, and if it was ever inspected by a Title V inspector, they would check our records to see that it's a 4-bedroom, not a 5-bedroom, based on the state requirement, the state codes as it relates to bedroom count. Because a 10-room house under the state codes under Title V would consider this a 5-bedroom house. So he's already informed us that he's more than willing to do the deed recording. I told him it's up to the board to approve that. And Gerard is here if you'd like to ask questions, but that's the way I see it. And if Gerard, if you see anything that I did not point out correctly, feel free to correct me.
That looks good. I don't know all of the implications of the deed recording thing besides letting us go forward, but if you want, I have some pictures of the downstairs if that has any effect on anything. Maybe if nothing else, I'd get to show off the media.
Then we'd have to get you to email them and have them be official records. So I would say usually when we look at pictures in this context, it's to say, no, this really isn't finished. And that sounds fully finished and fabulous. But
Yes.
it also sounds like something that would be consistent with things that we've allowed deed recording before. So at least for me, it sort of doesn't pose an issue. Are there any concerns, Matt or Daryl? I would want to see a deed recorded because the sunroom does feel like it would count like a room, but deed recording
Yes.
the basement feels, while we're never wildly enthusiastic about it, it feels very consistent with things we've done on many occasions before, and so I would be supportive.
Actually, if I could ask a question about the media room in the basement.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm in it right now. So, but
Oh,
don't-
okay. Does that
don't
have
look
any
behind.
windows?
No, there's no windows in that room. And there's a kind of standard basement-like window in the storage space.
Okay,
That
so
space,
smallish windows.
yeah, it's like a 12 by whatever the width is. I think I wrote it down on there somewhere.
Okay, they're small ones. So I guess I would be inclined to have the deed restriction on the media room specifically, because it's windowless and we'd never want to see that used as a bedroom. If at some point, because you've got 3 bedrooms upstairs, right? But a 4-bedroom septic.
Right.
So if perchance something was going to happen to convert the storage space that has windows, I don't know if they're adequate for a bedroom though, for housing code, but
I was gonna say, my sense is
I would do it for the media room and, however you identify that.
And I think what that does for you is it's essentially tying the deed recording. It's a narrower deed recording than it could be, because it's not saying you can't have another bedroom because you may be able to have another bedroom. It's just saying this room, we're putting the deed recording on, so that is taking it out of your 10-room to 9-room count in a way that's consistent for us. But if you turn that into a bedroom, it wouldn't be consistent, but that's not a space likely to be turned into a bedroom.
No, not by us, that's for sure.
And so, Mark, do you need a vote from us to?
What I would
just get-
suggest, yeah, and I'd suggest, Matt, if you want to screen, go over one more screen, or 2 more, not the little arrow there to the right. If you bring it up, you'll see the deed recording on the next page. I'm sorry, scroll over to the next one.
Let's see, where am I looking?
The deed
This one, yeah.
recording, yeah.
There we go.
So under number 2, to take care of the board's concern, it could say the existing finished basement room labeled as the media room shall never be used as a bedroom. Does that work for you, Daryl?
Or maybe we could be more descriptive, like which corner is it in the northwest corner of the basement?
Okay.
The room without windows, and in case someone else relabels it from media room sometime in the future,
Sure.
and then we're confused.
So we could be more
It's
specific.
Northeast room, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, you're right. So we could, the deed recording, I know Ellen can draft them up to be more specific. So we could say, what was it, the northwest you said, Gerard?
It's northeast.
Northeast. So we could say the northeast room, also labeled on a plan called media, room is not to be used as a bedroom. We could make sure item number 2 is addressed before it gets recorded.
So it would read the existing basement room located in the northeast corner of the basement, currently labeled as a media room,
That's perfect to me.
shall never be used as a bedroom.
It's up to the board, but that
Okay.
sounds good, Ellen.
Does that sound reasonable to others?
I don't know which way northeast is, but other than that, sounds lovely. So I'm on board.
If you don't mind, I have a question about what the implication of 3 in the sense that I mean, we have no plans or funds to do this, but say we wanted to bump the kitchen out a little bit, would that would be prohibited by number 3?
It could state that the house shall not be further expanded in room count, something like
No
that.
additional rooms.
The house should not be further expanded to any additional rooms, and that could address like a kitchen expansion, that it won't be included.
Okay.
That just means no more, the room count can't go up. It doesn't mean you can't make the rooms bigger.
You can make the rooms bigger, you just can't put in additional rooms.
Mhm. I think we're spending enough money on this particular thing that it might not happen in our lifetime anyway, so. But
And Gerard, just so you know, and the board knows this too, that say you wanted to put in a larger septic system someday, say you wanted to decided to put in a 5-bedroom septic system, and you met all state codes and the board allowed 1 additional bedroom, that's a possibility, and that would obviously cause this deed recording to no longer be effective if you change the septic system. But that or any new owners that wish to do it, if you're not wishing to do that at this time, that's an option.
okay,
So in this one, what we would say is number 1, any dwelling on the premises shall be limited to no more than 4 bedrooms.
Correct.
The existing finished space, the language that Ellen provided for the northeast media room shall never be used as a bedroom, and the house shall not have additional rooms added. Is that what we're landing on for number 3?
I
Or
think
the house will not have an increase in room count.
that sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, I like the last one.
Yeah, sounds good.
And Mark, do you need a vote from us or just this guidance?
A vote on the deed recording if the board
Perfect.
doesn't mind.
So do we have a motion to approve the deed recording language recommended?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Daryl, I.
Matt Beavers, aye.
Matt Vitale, aye. May your sunroom be as fabulous as your media room, sir.
thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
All right, you have a good night now.
All right, let me just ask one more. Do I just come down and sign this in front of you with my wife and stuff like that? Or
No,
what-
No, I will email it to you probably later tonight. And then what you'll need to do is have it, you and your wife will have to have it notarized. That can be done at the town clerk's office. And then it will have to go to the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds.
Right.
And you should bring, 2 copies to the Registry of Deeds. And then after it's recorded, they'll put a marginal reference on the document. And we need a copy of the fully executed document with the marginal reference from the Registry of Deeds included.
Okay,
And when we get that, then Mark would be able to approve the building application.
That's correct. And Gerard, there's one other option if you so wish. It's an attorney can file a deed recording electronically, and there's no need to go to the registry, which I know some people say can be quite a long process. So if you so wish, you could contact an attorney to file electronically. Am I correct on that, Ellen?
Yep.
I do have the time to go to Cambridge. So I'll try doing it myself and see what happens.
As Ellen said, though, make sure you bring a copy of it as well, because you need to bring back evidence. And if you don't have a copy with you when you go to the registry, just the original document, they will send you out to a private location to go get a copy, to go back and wait in line. So just make sure you bring a copy.
Okay,
Plus,
thank you.
you're welcome.
I'll make
Also-
several copies.
Is there still the Dedham office for the South Middlesex Registry of Deeds, Ellen? Do you know?
I've never heard of that.
Oh,
Everybody,
that's
you know,
where we
goes to
went for all of
Cambridge.
our paperwork, but maybe it's
Yeah.
changed.
I think it's just Cambridge.
Oh, okay. Maybe it consolidated.
This feels like a question Google could answer. So
Yep.
with that, we will avoid speculation and wish you a fabulous night.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, have a good night now.
You too, bye.
Ellen, I think that's got us covered other than our November 2nd agenda. Does that seem possible?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. This is a record, I do believe.
At least for meetings attended by Matt Vitale. There have been multiple instances when I was absent when we accomplished it, but this is the first one I'm along for the ride. So I'll take it.
Yeah.
Um,
So for the November 2nd agenda, is that what you're doing?
yes, please.
Okay. At the last meeting, you had me add the regulatory review, the well regulations at 7:15 for half an hour.
Perfect.
And then earlier tonight, it was the Beaver site visit update.
Perfect.
We don't know if we'll have a farm pond update yet. And that's all I have right now. There's no variance hearing scheduled. I don't expect to be at this meeting. I shouldn't.
I don't want you to take it wrong, but I hope you're not.
I know. I hope I'm not too.
And I could add one additional one if the board so wishes. 13 Corsebrook. We have talked with the homeowner or the homeowner's representative at a previous meeting. I have been in communication with them as of up to today. Yesterday, I asked him the status. He in turn told me he's going to have someone out there, but I'd like to be able to give the board an update on that as well, if I can.
So let's plan to have that on the agenda. And I guess the other question is, I know we got notification of a 40B application that I think is off of 16. I know, Gail, I think you did the site visit, but maybe we can share an update about that as well.
Yeah.
Just a
Okay.
brief discussion of the impressions from the site visit.
All right. Oh, and maybe a couple of things for budget that I'd like to discuss,
Do you want to include?
because
budget
they're
in the
bigger
agenda?
than the usual budget items that we review.
Do you want to title it budget, or do you want more specificity? Or do you want to just follow up with
just
Jean's
Preliminary discussion?
preliminary discussion? Sounds really good.
Yeah. On budget items.
Then should I invite, I forget her name, our
Or
advisory committee representative?
that certainly seems reasonable to me. Does that
Yeah,
make sense to you?
possibly.
Natalie Weir?
Yep,
Yeah.
I think that would be wonderful.
Okay, I'll invite her before I go.
Sounds great. Awesome. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting this evening?
So moved.
Seconded.
And hearing no further discussion.
Daryl,
Well-
I.
Yeah,
Matthew was I.
Matt Vitale, I have a fabulous night, everybody. And Ellen, I hope you're able to take a wonderful trip.
all right, thanks.
Night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.